What's up everyone, my name is Ne10 here, and I'm here to show you how I mastered my track Biosphere, which is available now on Aphelion II. So none of the processes are on except like the ones on the main master, which I'll explain why I did that in a bit. So this is how I mix my song in the lowest level. So the first one that I use the process for is Ozone 11. Usually I would like to use Ozone 11, let's just say, to give a decent starting point in terms of mastering, but sometimes it doesn't always work. You kind of overlook a certain frequency and it kind of just dips down for you too much. So sometimes I want to do the EQing myself, but in this case, I didn't really need to. The only thing that I needed to do was just up the vocals from here throughout the whole track, because I realized that, at least in the pre-master stage, it's sort of buried, especially like when it comes to the build-up. So for example, this is what it sounds like before the master rebalance. And now this is what it sounds like with the master rebalance. So in that case, because, I just want to make sure the vocals are clear, especially if they're going to get limited. So after Ozone 11, I used Zynaptiq's intensity. And in my opinion, like, I don't like to use intensity like from a track to track basis, but it's only like applied to like certain tracks. I really loved intensity for what it does, especially for the minute kind of detail for which it kind of pops out in the mix. I set the intensity to like 0.06, that's basically like 6%. The bias, which is kind of like this EQ, but it's like very, very, very small. It's like 2% right here. The output is set to saturate. Normally it is set to gain by default, but I said saturate, so it kind of brings up the levels a little bit. And the wet dry mix is set to 69%. Nice. And so this is the results. Let's go to intensity, and I'm gonna disable it on the drop just to make sure I can hear the difference. And here's with intensity. Now, the major one that actually has the most drive in it is SPL's Machine Head. So this one was a digital unit that I originally didn't like it at first, especially on the track-to-track basis, but unlike on a master bus, like, it sounds pretty damn good. So like the only thing that I changed was the high tape speed, which is normally is set to 15, and I kind of turned this on to make sure that it's kind of has its highest quality as possible. And then the drive is at 66, and the high frequency adjust is like 2 compared to like 1. And then that's pretty much it. So this is the end result of SPL Machine Head, but let me bypass this. And let's re-enable it. I just love how it really amps it up a lot. And so the final one, at least in this track particular, is the Oxford inflator. And it looks like it's cranked up, but it is cranked up for a good reason. So it is automated, so the effect kind of like goes up and then down, and slightly goes up and then up again. So this is kind of like on purpose, especially for the mix like this. Like the Oxford inflator, it literally is like the chef's kiss for, at least in terms of mastering or into any other tracks that I put on. So in massive differences, like let's just say the effect isn't on. Boring. So let's get that on. Man has discovered a virtually unlimited source of power. Damn, that's loud. So the pre-gain is where some of the bulk of the work is kind of done. And so Patcher is the mid-side EQ for which I set up with the Oxford EQ. I love this thing so much. So what I did is with the mid EQ, I just put it at 6.3 kilohertz and then put a 1.42 of gain kind of down. So I attenuated right there. So the side EQ, this is pretty interesting. So this is where automation's kind of done to kind of give that expression to where it's kind of narrowing down, and then boom, there's the drop. This is a trick that was learned from one of AU5's courses that is on Dawn Nation. I think it's called Was It You course? Yeah, I think that's what it is. And like, big shout out to AU5. So this is what happens without the automation.
Man has discovered a virtually unlimited source of power.
Yeah, it does okay. But let's just say we do this.
Man has discovered a virtually unlimited source of power.
Yeah, damn. It's a lot more impactful for what it does, and I just love it for that. Then I have Soothe 2 to kind of tame down at least to the cymbals or the hi-hats a little bit, so I just need to take care of that end. So let's just say I kind of put it right here. So that way, you know, it just kind of tames down to at least to that end. And then standard clip kind of carries the bulk in terms of like part saturation and then mostly clipping. So this is what we're dealing with, especially in the standard clip. So then that's just kind of like, it clips the peaks. And I'm pretty sure like if you use like G clip, it's pretty much the same thing. But I love how this standard clip, you could use the soft clip saturator and I just put at 5% and it does the job pretty well. You see, like I don't use like the Oxford or the Ozone EQ. I know the names are kind of all over the place, but Ozone EQ, I don't use it, especially when it comes to the Ozone 11. I mean, of course it's good for what it does, but I only want to use the tools that is needed for mastering. I don't purposely fix a song in a master project. In that case, it gives a much more cleaner result rather than just dirtying it up all the way. Unless you want to use OTT on the master, then that's another topic. Then the final part in the chain, which is the effects right here. This is the Sonox Oxford limiter. That's my baby right there. I don't have the fat filter, so this is like the choice that I made. The input gain's just kind of driven up by 0.4, just a little bit, and the threshold automatically determines the output trim. I put auto gain on and then the safe mode just to make sure. Now the reason why I got this Oxford limiter is because it also comes with the true peak limiting. Now I don't have to go over like what true peak limiting is. But so, you know, like you listen to a phone and you crank it the heck up and then suddenly it sounds bad. They are going to add some harmonics. And of course, it's harmonics that aren't even in the original track. So then what do? Do you want to back off the limiter? I don't think so. So in this case, that's why I use auto comp, which is to compensate for additional true peaks, and then peak hold just to make sure that which levels are there are safe. There's one more thing that I didn't get to show as of yet, because it's kind of like one of the other secrets that I got from other professionals is reverb in a master. Well, you're like, hold the freaking phone. Reverb on a master? Don't nobody do that? Well, then guess what? People actually do that. The Oxford reverb is what I used in this case. So with this, I picked a preset called Stereo Enhance under the ambience folder, which it does great, but like I had to modify it a few different parameters, like the position and the overall size down to the diversity and dispersion, because, you know, I don't want like every single thing about the phase to be kind of like so similar. I wanted to differentiate from the original. And of course, the nice thing is that there's an equalizer that you can put like post reverb, which is actually pretty nice. All I did is just put a high pass filter or low cut filter for the Brits. And I just put the frequency to 230 Hertz. So I'm just going to show you what this sounds like if it was just a reverb by itself, like just to show what it's like. So I'm going to go to that reverb and I'm going to shut it off to see the difference. Here's with it. So The reverb is like, it's so small, but of course, like, the reason why that I use this reverb, because, you know, it has like different parameters that what I really want in terms of the reverb. I was gonna try, oh yeah, yeah. Look at my huge list. I was gonna try using Valhalla Vintage Verb, but it sounded a bit too kind of smeary. And of course, like the phase was kind of a bit atrocious from that, which I get it for a track to track basis, but for mastering reasons, like I love to use this one particularly. The reason why I do this is so that way I can add a little bit more stereo without using the Haas effect, or even just like any other kind of chorus or anything like that. Reverb is a much more natural way of bringing out stereo in that case. But I don't do this to every single master that I use. It's kind of atrocious, but you know, if done right and done very carefully, you can do it just right to fill up the atmosphere. But the last two plugins that I use, tonal balance control. I use the 4.5 decibel per octave, which I also got it from the AU5's course. It's also from Was It You. It was the same part of mastering. But in particularly, it doesn't have to be the exact target, but it's like, it's mostly there, especially when it comes to the drop. And so the reason why that I have these kind of set after, so the pre-gain has like the processing and so does the pre and the reverb. So the masters is kind of like the monitoring stage. So these don't really affect anything. But of course there's this WLM, which it does monitor LUFS. I don't really have a specific target for any song because, you know, it differs a lot of the time, especially like the mood of it down to how it's supposed to feel. It's like, I'm not gonna master every song to be like at +2 LUFS. What's the point of that? Some of this, definitely take this with a grain of salt because, you know, not every case is gonna be the exact same. It's always gonna be something different. All right, and then that is it. That's how I mastered my song Biosphere. It's available now on Aphelion II, so definitely check it out. Definitely check out the rest of the tracks. They are badass. I'm Ne10, and I will see you guys on the flip side. Peace.